Hello and welcome to this introduction to managing monorepos with pnpm, which is part of this YouTube course on AWS serverless web development. For direct links to all the YouTube videos, visit the course portal at richardbraycourses.co.uk, which also provides direct links to the source code for each lesson. Hello, throughout this course we're going to be using a monorepo, which is a term that means storing multiple software projects in a single repo. And this is done by some of the largest companies in the world. Google have a monorepo of astronomical proportions, as do Microsoft and Meta. The reason they do this is it confers many benefits. One of the main benefits of using a monorepo is it makes sharing code so much easier. If you've got lots of projects and they're all trying to share a piece of code and that code is in a separate repo, it's surprisingly difficult to manage that situation. And so let me give you an example of how that would be done using a monorepo. So here I have an example where I've got project A, service A, and another project, service B. And we want them to be completely independent of each other. So when we make a change to service A, we can deploy that change without having to deploy service B. Now, let's say that they both use some shared code. Typically what you would do is you put that shared code into a utility package and then publish that to your own private package registry. I'm sure you're familiar with the npm public package registry. This is like a private or personal copy of npm that only you can read and write from. And there are a few companies that provide this service, but one of the best known is GitHub. If you go to the GitHub website and look at GitHub Packages, you'll find that they have everything you need there to publish your own packages that only you can read. So in this example, I've put the shared code into a utility package, and by publishing it to our private registry, we can have multiple versions all available at the same time, just like in the big npm registry where you can go and get any version of a package going back in time. GitHub Packages provides precisely the same capability. So in this example, I'm imagining that service B is using version 2 and someone makes a change to service A and they need to upgrade the utility package. So all they do is they make a code change in the utility package, they publish that to a new version, version 2.1, and then they can deploy service A with this new change. In their package.json, they say, I want to use version 2.1 of this private package, and it'll use that. Meanwhile, service B, its package.json is still saying, I want to use version 2. And so any changes to service B can be made and they'll just still be using version 2. So service A and service B can both be published independently, both using different versions of the same shared code. And in time, one would like to think that service B will be upgraded to version 2.1, but it's by no means necessary. Okay, so with that, that's enough theory. Let's get on with some practice and actually build one of these things. So here I have my source code directory and I'll create a new folder. I'll call it monorepo just to make the point. And I'll open this in VS Code. And the first thing I want to do is just set up my actual repository itself. So in VS Code, I can just click on this initialize repository and it'll create a Git folder for me. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, let's say I go back here and I look inside, you can see there's now a hidden Git folder. And I'm now going to make commits to Git from time to time. There are some folders that I don't want committed, just temporary folders that contain, temporary files. So I will add a gitignore file .git new file .gitignore, and any of these files or folders will be excluded from GitHub commits. So I've got a prepared list here. We'll see each of these as we go on throughout the course. DS Store, incidentally, is just for Mac. If you're on Windows, you don't need this one. Although it won't do any harm if you leave it there. Okay, so let's just commit that. Our first change, added a gitignore file. Okay, you can publish this if you want. I'm not going to here. Right, now we can actually get started. And the first thing I want to do is bring up a terminal. So terminal, new terminal. Now, at the time of recording this, the default terminal for VS Code is bash. If you don't see bash here, I'm going to be using the bash terminal, or assuming we're using it. So let me make this bigger. This little arrow down here, if you drop it down, you can select a default profile, which is essentially choosing which terminal you want to use. Another way of getting to this menu, if that's disappeared, is you can go View, Command Palette, and use this terminal select default profile, and then just choose bash from this list. And that'll help you follow along with what I'm doing in my lessons. Okay, so in order to get started, I want to create a pnpm monorepo, or make use of the pnpm workspaces capabilities. And to do that, I say pnpm init. And the only thing that command does is to create this package.json file. And in fact, the truth is it's a bit more than we need. So I'm going to strip this down to something a bit more readable. And so you can see I've got 3 items in here. I've got a name, a version, and then inside scripts I have this one command, message, which will execute this command, echo current folder, and it'll print out the present working directory. And so with npm we would say npm run blah 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 blah. With pnpm we do exactly the same. We say pnpm run, and then in this case message. And you can see when I run it, it prints echo current folder, it prints the command it's running, and then it actually runs the command, and we can see the output. If we don't want to see the command that's being run, there is a silent option. So I can say pnpm-s or -- silent and run message, and we'll see it just prints the one line. Now something I do, I create an alias for that. So in my .bash profile file, I have this little alias prun, which says pnpm run -- silent. And so that means in order to run this message, I type prun message and up it comes. It just saves me a few characters, but because I do it thousands of times, it sort of adds up. Okay, so that's the initial setup. I'm going to close this little lesson here, and I'll see you in the next, where we'll look at working with subdirectories or folders.